Boss, sandito yung The Going Mary.
Huh?
The Going Mary.
Huh?
Barko, boss. Pirata.
For some critics on Rotten Tomatoes, One Piece, Netflix's live-action adaptation of the world popular animation, is not woke enough, at least not political enough for their senses, because they've been review bombing it, giving it low reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, and their reviews themselves, when you read it seems like they're not satisfied with its dedication to the source material, not taking chances beyond its original sources, and not going and not making political stances, kind of staying bland and generic, at least according to their reviews. And I see this as them being frustrated with the lack of taking chances on the modern political takes that a lot of conversations are being established on, at least in the social environment that we're in today. And I think that's the case here. A lot of the reviews that we see here, even though it has some good reviews, it's not a terrible critic score. It's 84%, which is pretty admirable. I think it's good in and of itself. But when you look in the details of this score, you go to top critics, it's a resounding 62%. It falls down 22%. And a lot of the critics that are taking down this score are complaining about its lack of inventiveness when it comes to taking on political and modern day takes. They applaud these other adaptations like Sandman, The Witcher, for placing women empowerment and some other gender politics within their shows, but they kind of deride One Piece for not taking those chances and calling it bland and generic. And I think that's the main thing where I'm seeing these critics are lambasting One Piece. They're having problems with it trying to stay dedicated to source material. Some of them even praising Cowboy Bebop, knowing it's a failure in and of itself, but they praised it for trying these different things and having these modern takes within their reviews. So it's strange to see these reviewers have problems with One Piece. I can see them having generic problems when they're comparing it to these other failure of projects, failure anime adaptations, and applauding the failure for its dedication to taking chances. That's when I have a problem with it, because I can see clear faults with One Piece. I know it's not the best show ever made, but it is the best anime adaptation. I love it for what it is. It stays close to the source material. But when you go through the list of these complaints about this, it's about One Piece lacking the vision to go outside of its boundaries, its intentions to stay so strict to the source material that it leaves you feeling high and dry and without any chances to be challenged. Of course, that's CNN.com having that critical tape. And let's see, just Rolling Stone, the deeper we get into the season, the more we learn about each member of the crew, the more One Piece drags. And they hate the characters, Rolling Stone. They hate learning about the characters in One Piece. And if you know One Piece is all about the background of each character. Each chapter in the manga goes deep into their backgrounds, and you really get attached to the characters. And I love that happened within the live action show. They didn't shirk this responsibility, included their backstories in such a beautiful way. So to see these people deriding it for sticking to that source material, showing those backgrounds, which I loved how they presented them, and they were true to the characters themselves. I think that's just them showing their just a lack of understanding of that world and their impatience for it. And I think that's one of the situations we have here, at least with the Rolling Stone. We can go to the Polygon, which has its own super political stances on every single issue in video game, when it comes to Hogwarts, when it comes to Street Fighter 6 and how the women look in that, or any other issue like Starfield and whatever is happening with that controversy at the moment. They have their political action and initiatives within their reviews, but they have a similar thing to say where they see the celebration of Oda's works, but they see it as a fault, as something that is not good enough, at least in their eyes. And I think that's something that is highlighted, at least by the Variety writer, who comes in, chastises this version of One Piece for being bland and generic and not taking chances and sticking to the source material too much. And I think this one was the most critical of them all, where they took a take and said it's loyal to a fault. It tries to stick to the source material too much, and we want to see them take a risk in it where they are taking these political shots from modern day takes. And I think people applaud applaud this adaptation for sticking to the source material, not adding modern takes into fantasy. This stayed as a pure fantasy, a piece of art. And I think that's the thing people love about it. That's why it's being so successful right now. That's why it had such a successful 4-day run of over 18.5 million views, over 140 million hours streamed. That's one of the highest streaming numbers for a property on Netflix. It's still a little bit lower than Wednesday, and I think another property, Stranger Things 4. Those things did way better than One Piece, but it's still in the number 4 spot. I think Witcher season 2 is there with 142 million hours streamed. So this is one of the biggest shows in Netflix history. So it's for sure getting a second season. I think still with a high budget. And I think that's all we needed from this, because this is one of the biggest premiere seasons for Stranger Things. It had to be on its 4th season to get those high numbers to get into second place. And Wednesday is just a total breakout series in and of itself. It's the best streaming show on Netflix history, so I think that's a different thing. But I think this series here, One Piece, it has a chance of becoming one of Netflix's biggest property. And it's funny to see these just reviewers hating on it in a way where it didn't hate those other series, and specifically this one, it praises some of their other series like The Witcher and Sandman and Umbrella Academy, and then it takes shots at Wednesday and One Piece being similar, where they almost criticizing it for trying to stay as something that's frictionless in quality and friendly and unchallenging to the audience. And this is where they have complaints, where it's just not challenging the audience stance and ideas and politics. And I find that people don't want to be challenged when they're going to see entertainment. They want to be emotionally driven and just drawn into the work and the fantasy of it all. They don't want their reality challenged in their current state, and when it comes to the hard situations that are surrounding them, they want to be lost in a fantasy. And I think this is where a lot of people producing the content in Hollywood don't understand that. We're here for fantasy, we're here to relax, and I think One Piece achieves that in such a great way, where it is extending out to new audiences and people that are just interested in just that escapism and fantasy. And that's why it is getting large numbers, even when it's not a known property to a lot of older people. Wednesday and the Addams Family is known to almost all Americans, and I think it has that name brand recognition, where One Piece is known to only anime fans and people that really like that animation and manga. So for it to reach out to a broader audience instantly, I think it is an amazing feat, especially here in America. Of course, we know worldwide has a large anime fan base. That's why it was number 1 in multiple countries. That's why it had that large title for being number 1 in 84 countries, higher than Stranger Things and Wednesday, because it just has a larger reach outside of America. But for America to grab onto it and increase its streaming numbers is probably one of the most impressive aspects of this release from Netflix. I think this is what's going to secure it for a second season. And I have to say to the critics, you just have to let go of that perception that everything has to challenge your modern day aesthetics. People are there to escape, and I think that's the case with One Piece. So let go of your modern day confines of thought and theory and just enjoy a boy chasing his dream. And I think that's the thing that attracts people to One Piece, is just a simple boy in his dream and his friends fighting for their dreams. And that's what I like about One Piece. Anyways, tell me what you think about the story. Are you in agreement with the critics who think this is not woke enough, this doesn't have enough modern day politics and thoughts, and it doesn't challenge the audience? If you agree with them, I have to respectfully disagree. But leave your thoughts, comments, like, and subscribe. This is Wagner Knows Why. Catch you next time.